toy family, welcome to the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
This is Aaron with Martian Toys.
I'm George Gaspar.
And welcome back, Aaron. What's it been, like a couple months since you've been on?
Oh, well, I'd say 4 weeks. Is it longer than that? 4 or 5 weeks? Sorry, guys. A combination of sickness, decon, New York Comic Con. Yeah, it's been an open. Oh, and by the way, opening the store in Philadelphia. So
It's okay. We've received lots of emails saying that they prefer it without you.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's not true.
I think it's the added alcohol by you that's helping the show, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. As I take a swig of something.
Strawberritas.
Marsham Toy Hour, sponsored by Bud Light Lime Strawberryta. The thing is sweet, but I don't like beer, so this works. All right, guys, we have a guest joining us tonight. You know, sometimes when my brother's walking around the Comic-Con floor, he's confused for me. Well, when I'm at Comic-Con, I'm often confused for our guest. He's a cat-loving, pinball enthusiast, and scotch drinker, hailing from Brooklyn, New York. Our guest tonight is a fantastic designer. He's dabbled in every aspect of toys, from self-producing his own popular toys to contributing designs to many mass productions for other companies. He's sculpted and even cast his own work for gallery events and shows that he does. He's also the man behind the Android Mini Collectible series. So let's welcome Andrew Bell to the show. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. I know you're pretty much cramming right now to do a show at Rotofugi next week. Or actually, the time this comes out, this will be this Friday.
Yeah, it will have been the Friday after that, right? December 9th.
You're up to your ears in resin casting, and you're all pretty much set and already shipped everything off.
Yeah, everything's done. Sure. No, I'm still working diligently. I work best under pressure, so it's a lot of last-minute stuff.
Most people in the designer toy scene work best under pressure. That's why everything's submitted like overnight, the night before some sort of custom event. Aaron probably knows a little something about that.
It pervades beyond just the custom shows. Like when we opened the store, we literally were putting products on the shelves like an hour before we opened. I think it's ingrained in everyone in the scene just to kind of do things last minute.
Yeah. Although I am familiar with the wait times for certain materials, so my last minute is like, oh, this primer needs 2 days to set up, and this paint needs another day to cure, and this resin takes 12 hours. So my last minute can't be actually last minute, or else a goopy blob will arrive at the gallery.
See, now that's the difference between professional and amateur right there. You know what you're doing. You're not clear coating something the night before and then not even giving enough time before you bubble wrap it.
Oh, I've learned my lessons the hard way. I've definitely done that, but it's been a while. Yeah, I've made all the possible mistakes, and I'm still making them today, but it's just part of the learning process.
Well, Andrew, before we get into talking to you a little bit more, let's go ahead and start out the show with the first segment that we always do on the show called Leaks and Sneak Peeks. This is the segment where we discuss anything that we might have seen on social media this week that we want to alert those listeners to. Andrew, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, fresh out of Decon, where I was last week, I met a couple from Canada, I believe. They don't really have a website, but they have Instagram that has some pictures. They're called Wendigo Toys. It's WENDIGOTOYS. That's their Instagram name and their website.com. They had a few resin casts that were really nice, in particular one called Mr. Fish, which is just really bizarre looking fish man wearing pants, kind of right up my alley as far as design and humor goes. Yeah, they had a few good things. It seems like they're working on some more stuff. I think they're relatively new to the scene. Hopefully they'll update their website and post some more pictures on Instagram. And on top of that, there's a designer out of Hong Kong that I like a lot, Pradeep Lung. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He's been around for a while. He did some stuff with Michael Lau a while back, LMF. I think he's the bassist for LMS. He has a new incense burner figure, which is really cool. He did a terrarium maybe like a year or so ago called Plant of the Gods, I think it was something like that. But yeah, okay. His new incense burner, I think it's solid brass. It's something like $700. So it's a bit spendy and a little outside of the pure toy realm, but it's beautifully designed and nicely finished.
Did you say $700?
Yeah, I think it's about that.
Well, that's not spending at all.
Yeah, no problem, right?
Just a drop in the hat for you, I hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, compared to some of the toys I saw at Decon, it's actually not that expensive. I was right next to, my Plastic Heart shared the booth. He was selling the King Corpse toy by James Groman, which was another one that I thought was awesome.
Looks incredible.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, look it up. It's a big King Kong kind of figure. It's decomposing. It's got tons of details. I think he did it along with Instinct Toy. And the finish is great. The size is great. It's not something that I would collect myself, but I really admired the production on it.
I feel the same way. It's not something I would personally buy or really. Normally, something like that wouldn't interest me, but the quality of the sculpting and the paint and just the size of that figure is really impressive. Who wants to go next?
All right, I'm going to do a Kickstarter again, not mine. Did I talk about the Mickey Monster yet? Have I ever brought that up on the show?
I don't think so.
Have you guys seen it yet?
Nope.
No.
All right, you can just type in Mickey Monster. I'm sure it'll come up. It's by someone named Vincent Scala. It looks like he's trying to do his first production vinyl toy, and it's basically a Mickey Mouse with a bunch of eyes and scary teeth and horns. But I'm more backing this one out of curiosity to see if he can pull this off. He's only asking for $20 for a 6-inch vinyl toy.
I did see this. Okay.
And
yeah.
I don't know where he's going to get this thing produced, where the price could possibly be $20, especially for the design he has. Like it's obviously just a 3D sculpted piece. Like I don't even know if it's ever been output, because if it had, he might notice that there's a ton of things that really can't be done in production vinyl. So I'm more backing this out of curiosity to see how it goes and if he can actually pull it off. Because if I get this thing for $20, I'm going to be really surprised and really happy.
It looks like he's about 3/4 of the way there, so he might end up taking a loss on this one. Because you're right, I can't imagine how he's going to do a 6-inch vinyl piece plus it's got paint app on it for $20.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
And it looks like his goal is only 7,000.
Look at those teeth. Yeah, 7,000 isn't enough to even do molds on this thing.
Plus
So
Kickstarter fees and all other good stuff. I don't know.
It's dubious, but I'm backing it because I want to see what's going to happen. But look at those teeth. You can't pull that in vinyl.
No, I can't even imagine trying to. Hopefully he doesn't try to do any sort of paint app in that mouth either.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun to watch.
It's ambitious for sure.
It looks cool though.
I think it's a fine print. I don't think it needs to be a toy, but I want to see what happens. So I'm in. And I want everyone.
I
to
like
back
that.
it.
I like that you're willing to support something just because you're curious how it's going to turn out. That's fine.
I do that for a lot of projects because I like to see how the creators because you get updates and everything. I like to see how they work and I like to see their process.
Yeah. Okay. Well, 6 days to go. By the time people are hearing this,
It'll have 3 days. So yeah, it's good. It ends on Wednesday.
Cool. Yeah. So check it out, everybody. What about you, Aaron?
My sneak and peek it's by Indonesian artist Kong Andri, who Andrew Bellis tapped for Android series before. He's got a figure. It's a resin piece coming out through Flab Slab, who we've had him on before on the podcast. So it's called Orange Boy, and it's just a cool sculpt, and I'm looking forward to seeing that get produced.
I saw it. I like that figure a lot. I've always been a big fan of Andre's designs, especially he did a robot kind of in a similar vein several years ago. So, yeah, this is going to be cool. Okay, my leak and sneak peek is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The Marsham Toy Hour is now on the designer pin bandwagon. So, if you want to proudly show your support for the show, head on over to superham.com. Click on the shop link and purchase yourself a very cool pin. For the first week, domestic shipping is going to be on us. So just type in promo code HAMBELL. All one word.
But you missed PinCon this year.
I did. It's okay.
/ George's garage sale.
That definitely was it.
Yeah. So I think, Andrew, before we get talking to you a little bit, I kind of want to have a little discussion with you guys about something Ben mentioned last week on the podcast. Now, last week, Benjamin was saying that for next year's Designer Con, one of the things that they're talking about is having a VIP pass that lets attendees in an hour early. Now, it's my understanding that this is going to be a survey sent out to the vendors, and that survey is going to have like potential changes for next year. Since it's going to be on a survey, I kind of want to touch base with you guys and find out, as vendors, what do you guys think about that? I'll just go first. I personally don't like it. I think it goes against sort of everything that has made DesignerCon great to this point. I don't like that, one, it's going to inconvenience vendors, and there's really no benefit for vendors. Anything that's someone's going to be buying that badge for to get in early is going to sell regardless, so it's not going to benefit the vendors. And then two, I think it's really kind of only giving people with deep pockets the advantage. And I think one great thing about DesignerCon is that it's always been really affordable to get in, and now I don't like the fact that people waiting in line who don't have that badge might miss out on some of those really limited exclusive items. I just don't like that aspect. I feel like it diminishes what DesignerCon up to this point has been about. I'm not going to say it's greedy at all, because I know Ben is not a greedy person and does not do this event to make a lot of money, which is why up to this point it's always been super cheap and affordable. I just don't like it. Do you guys feel the same way, or do you have a different take on it?
Well, I noticed this year there were lines for booths before it even opened up, mostly people with vendor badges waiting for rare Sofubi and whatnot. I don't know if this would mitigate it or just add to it. You might get your VIP badge and get in and still miss out because vendors were lined up. So maybe they need to make it a little more formal in enforcing rules, like not selling to vendors like they have in San Diego.
Yeah. I like the idea of rewarding the people that did wait in line. Maybe the first 100 could receive something or, get some sort of advantage. But I just don't like the fact that they're opening early and really making anyone who now wants that super limited or rare thing, they're probably going to be forced to buy this VIP badge. And again, it's not something that's set in stone. It's going to be up for survey, but I just wanted to see how you guys felt about it, being that you guys are vendors.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the VIP badge this year, and I don't know what it's going to be next year, but the VIP badge this year was it got you into, there was a decon after party on Saturday night. So with your VIP badge, you got into the decon after party, where there was live painting going on, and there was a DJ spinning and all that stuff. And the badge was $10 on top of your ticket for the show. So if the VIP badge is $10, this isn't some kind of a cash grab. This is trying to help pay for this party that happens at night. So letting the people who are already buying that in an hour early to get in line with the vendors who are already in there getting all of this cool stuff, I think it's a win for all of the attendees that want to get in and get that kind of stuff. I mean, ever since, a few years back, there's been a line that forms. Sometimes they start getting there at like 3 a.m. Imagine if you didn't have to worry about that, because you can just get this badge and then you just get there an hour early and you go in. Like, I think it's only helping all the people that are standing out in the cold, in the dark, standing outside of, not that it's cold in California, but standing out in the dark, waiting outside of Pasadena Convention Center. I mean, why not let them? They want to get in anyway. Like, these people want to get in and spend their money. I don't see anything wrong with letting them in and spending their money.
I don't either, but I think if it's that affordable, I think what you're going to have is all those people that were waiting in line, I think they're all going to buy the VIP badge, and they're still going to wait in line trying to beat the other people with VIP badges.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
There will be a core group of people that want to get in early, and I mean, it really isn't fair to those people who have to wait until the doors open when there are, like you guys said, there were people inside already waiting because they're vendors. And it's like, what do you do? Like, you can't tell vendors not to buy stuff, because we're also fans of this stuff. So we want to be, we want to get this stuff too. We want to, just because we're vending doesn't mean we shouldn't be allowed to buy something. I mean, it just sucks that, like, there's no real way to, like, handle that whole situation of, like, the crowd versus the people who are already inside. And some of this stuff is so limited, as you guys know, that there can be, there could be 10 pieces of something, especially if it's Sofubi, where the guy outside who has to wait till the doors open at 10 doesn't have a chance because there's 10 vendors inside who already want it.
Right.
So I think letting these people in an hour early and helping them get into the line before all the vendors do, I think could be a good thing, because that way the vendors have to be at their booth, like I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's a good thing though. I think it's only going to help the fans who want to get this stuff.
There's probably only 10 or 12, maybe 15 booths where people are lining up early on anyway to get stuff. right? I mean,
Yeah.
let's face
It's
it.
not. It's not every booth for sure. It's not going to help most of the vendors inside. It's not for them. This is like this VIP literally for the fans. Like it's for the fans who want to get that extra thing, who know if they get there early they can get that extra thing.
And it's not a $500 premium package with spa and massage or anything. It's not
It's $10.
that onerous. Yeah, it's not too bad.
If that's the case, then then I'm totally fine with it. I thought it was going to be hitting people in the pockets. Like I thought maybe it was going to be like $100. If it's only $10, no big deal. But do you guys like the fact that now you're going to have to set up an hour earlier?
No.
You have to be there anyway. Like you should be your booth should be ready. Like conventions, Gary. Comic-Con. You don't walk in at door opens or your stuff is already like there's already people like even at regular San Diego Comic-Con, people are already inside the hall 45 minutes doors open because that's what Comic-Con does. They open the back door before they open the front door because all the idiots that go to the front door like you're supposed to get in at the time, like get in a half hour later than the people who know to go to the round back. Like there's all these tricks and stuff to all the conventions. So why not just be upfront about it and know that you're like you have to be at your booth anyway. There's like if you're a vendor and you're not coming in till 10 o'clock and the doors open at 10, that's stupid. You should already be at your booth. You should already be set up anyway. It's not like we're doing this at 6 a.m. where you like or like 5 a.m. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Like who's like get up? It's a convention. Get off your high horse and get into your booth. Sorry, I saw somebody complaining about that, and I was like, you know what? You can get up at 9 o'clock.
I'm not going to name names, but I know at least one pretty prominent booth at D-Con where they didn't show up until noon on Saturday.
That's stupid.
I thought you would think
that. I don't know who they are, but that's stupid.
It's a pretty prominent person, and I can't call them out, but they know who they are. They didn't show up until noon.
Call them out. They should be shamed for it. Why are you getting a booth if you're going to waste half the day?
I mean, I don't understand that how you can be like, oh, I'm so passionate about doing this, and then you don't show up until noon on Saturday. Like
there's a 400-person waiting list for booths at Designer Con. If you don't want to show up, don't get a fucking booth. Give it to someone who wants to.
Yeah.
Now, what if this prominent person, what if they just had a bad case of diarrhea from a late night of drinking, and they just couldn't risk being behind a booth for the first 2 hours? They waited till the Pepto-Bismol kicked in.
No,
Send your friend.
George doesn't care. Bring a bag.
Here's the thing. They were stuck in traffic, and they're an LA native. So it wasn't like someone from England flew over, didn't understand that there's always traffic in LA. It was somebody who's born and raised in LA, or I wouldn't say born, but has been in LA long enough to know you probably need to give yourself an extra hour to get anywhere, right? Right, George? I don't know. I mean, when I heard the excuse was, oh, you're stuck in traffic, I called them. There was somebody there that kind of knew what was going on and said, oh, yeah, there's no product in the booth yet because they're stuck in traffic. They just had some empty cases. And I'm like, what happened here? And they said, oh, yeah, so-and-so's stuck in traffic, and the product's with him. So,
a lot of LA people choose to actually get hotel rooms so they can be right there near the convention hall and don't have to, spend any time in a car.
Yeah, because this is our business. This is a business, and you should treat it like a business. You don't go to conventions as your little hobby. Leave the booth for someone who wants to run their business and do it the right way.
Yeah. I seriously rolled my eyes when I saw that one. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, and you should have several people there, and your product should be there the day before. Now, I know if you're bringing something over from China, or Singapore or Philippines, sometimes shit happens. But this was stuff that was, made in the USA, in LA, and this person lives in LA and has lived in LA for several years.
That's crazy because they're set up on Friday, and you can be there from noon to 8 on Friday. Even if you have to work
midnight, even if you really you can keep them there late. Like
Ben will stay. He'll stay for people if they need the time. Like there's no excuse. Like even if you work on Friday, you can come after work. Like there's no excuse to not be there setting up your booth. All right. Well, you're not going to call them out, and we're not going to shame them, so we can move on to something else.
Well, here's the thing about conventions. I've done San Diego, I've done Designer Con. Once you're set up on Friday or the day before or whatever, you just cover your stuff with a sheet for the most part. I mean, there are vendors who will take everything off a table, put it underneath, and it's a pain in the ass for them every day they come. But for, someone like me and a lot of other vendors, we just take a sheet, throw it over the table. You show up the next morning, Woof! You pull off the sheet. Poof! In 5 minutes, you're ready to set up, ready to take orders. So it's not that big of a deal to come in.
I disagree. I think.
Well, there's a lot of people stuck in Starbucks line and all that other stuff.
Well, I like to give myself another hour or two in the morning to set up or move things around, depending on how things are selling the day before or what kind of people are coming in the next day. So it takes me a little lot longer, and I'm usually not ready until right when the show opens, even though I get in earlier.
Yeah. All right, Andrew. We'll set your clock for an hour earlier next year.
That's fine for me because I'm from the East Coast. I still get to sleep in.
Perfect.
Well, I mean, and the nice thing is, even if the doors are open and you're still fiddling around setting your booth up, it's not going to, like for the VIPs, it's not going to be that big a deal. Like, it's not like there's going to be 5,000 people flooding the floor and you have to, like, you're going to still be able to take your time. DCon is not this crazy thing. Like, you could still take your time and reset up your booth and do some things and move stuff around. No one's going to be like, I don't know. It's not going to be that insane
think
where
the people, like with New York Comic Con, when people buy the VIPs at New York Comic Con, I think they kind of like it that you're kind of still setting up. Like, I remember 2 years ago at New York Comic Con, like we were still putting stuff on the shelf or moving stuff around, and this guy came in and he saw a piece and he's like, "Can I buy that?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I haven't even taken a picture of it yet, but yeah, by all means." And I think he kind of liked the idea that I think that's part of the kind of buzz of getting a VIP pass to one of these things is you get to kind of see the behind the scenes chaos.
Yeah, you get to see people setting up still, and it's fine. Like, I don't know, I have no problem with it. I'm in there an hour before anyway. You should be.
Mm-hmm.
So a quick round of yay or nay. George?
I'm all the way yay.
Aaron?
I'm yay too.
Andrew?
Sure, why not?
Peer pressure.
I'm going to say nay.
So nay from the one guy who wasn't there this
So-
year.
Yeah, the guy that doesn't go anyway. The guy that hates fans. He doesn't want people to be able to buy stuff. All right, we got you, Gary.
No, I want people to be able to buy stuff. I just can't take the financial risk to go out there. You guys know, I've mentioned it several times, my situation. And you know what? I'm just going to rather than debate it, let's just take a page from Bill Burr's podcast and say, fair enough. All right, well, let's move on to Andrew. Moving on to Andrew, sponsored by 3DRetro.com. Holidays are coming up, so if you got that special gift you want to get someone, check out 3DRetro.com, or if you're in the Southern California area, head on over to Glendale, California, and visit the 3D Retro brick and mortar shop. All right, Andrew, let's get to talking to you a little bit. How you liking being on the podcast so far?
It's good talking to you guys. I saw two of you recently.
Yeah, how did your Black Friday and Cyber Monday shopping go?
Black Friday, I bought a hard drive. Well, I actually didn't buy anything on Black Friday. I bought a hard drive on Cyber Monday to keep things in the cyber realm.
Nice.
It was super cheap. But other than that, my sales are going well. We launched Android Force Science Series 2 on Cyber Monday.
I saw that. Very cool. It was like 3 new figures,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, it's got George Washington Carver, Rosalind Franklin, and Charles Darwin, and each with their own respective little accessories.
Now, this is the second series of science.
Yeah, we did another one about a year ago with Nikola Tesla, Marie Curie, and Sir Isaac Newton.
Very cool. And how many series of Android minifigures do you have now? 6?
Yeah, 6 launched this summer,
Man.
and still going strong.
Can you tell us like how that came about? Did you work directly with Google on that? And how do you decide which artist to invite to participate in the series and whatnot?
Sure. Well, it actually all started many, many years ago at Comic-Con. A friend of mine who I met at Comic-Con was an artist in Artist Alley, and then over the years he came to help us out at our booth. And he was a developer on the side and started working at Danger. I don't know if you remember Danger. They used to make a phone called the Sidekick.
Mm-mm.
No, it had a little screen that flipped up and a full keyboard. It was pretty advanced for its time. And that eventually became another company called Danger, which was started by a guy named Andy Rubin. And he was the guy that started Android and then got bought out by Google. So this guy, a friend of mine who is a developer, has been working on that stuff from day one. And they were coming up on the release of the first version of Android and thinking about some promotional things to do. And he said, got a friend that makes some toys. Maybe we can do something. He gave me a call. And, originally it was supposed to be sort of a internal swag project, make some little toys, give them out to employees and as promotion. I convinced them to let me expand it a bit to a whole blind box series and let me distribute it and sell it in stores and really just help get the word out while at the same time getting some more interesting designs out there.
Yeah, so the first series was a little more primarily you and a couple Google designs, and then like series 2, you kind of tapped into the designer toy artists a little bit more, and since then you've had more designer toy artists in every series, right?
Yeah, series 1 was all me, essentially. I was putting it together and didn't know how it would go or if it would keep going, so it just involved myself. And then after that, started adding a few people, series 2, then a few more, series 3, and then every series since then has had at least 5 or 6 different artists involved in it.
Yeah, and do you choose who the artists are, or do you like meet up with Google design team and like pick and choose? I know because a lot of times in every series it seems to be always be like one Google artist or maybe 2, and then some designer toy artists, and then some like almost a CMYK. It always seems to be like a blank included in there. So is that your decision making, or is that in conjunction with Google?
No, I do all the curating myself primarily. I do run it all by them, make sure that they're cool with all the artists, and see if they have any suggestions. As far as the Google artists go, what we did the last series, series 6, is we had a little internal contest where we were soliciting designs from different Google departments.
Oh, cool.
And they sent in a few different ones, and we picked one and put it to production. They came in all sorts of ways, some sketches, some MS Paint stuff, some crayon, but we got some good ones.
And then you had to vectorize everything?
Yeah, we did the vectorization and the production art, and that was Jess Wang's hot dog, which is adorable.
Yeah, and you say we. How many people are there in the Dead Zebra team?
I am using it as the royal we. It's just me. Essentially me. I have Melissa, who works for me at the warehouse that I have in Massachusetts.
Yep,
she
awesome.
does all my... Yeah, she's amazing. She does all my direct sales, fulfillment, and customer service. And then it's me. That's pretty much Dead Zebra Inc.
Well, nice. You're supposed to make it sound bigger and grander than that.
Well, that's a sort of a catch-22, because then people think that there's so many people working for you and you can do so many more things. I had one guy today tell me to kick a technical issue up to the IT department.
Yeah.
Like, all right, yeah, let me call HR first.
Did you take care of that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of do subscribe to the fake it till you make it philosophy, but there's a point where you want to stop faking it because you're just going to have to make it too much.
Now, when you first started doing the Androids, did you have a feeling that the designer toy side of things was going to embrace the designs, or were you concerned about that, or is Android just popular enough and commercial enough that it would have done well on its own? Like, where did you teeter between the commercial and designer toy scene?
Well, I didn't really know what to do with it. It was a brand new operating system for a brand new phone that had just been released. And of course, we were doing the production a little bit ahead of time, so I didn't really know how many to make. I didn't know how popular it would be. I had a set order from Google for them, so I knew, okay, I can make this many and my costs are covered. And I can make a few more and see how they sell. And it just took off. I mean, I really was not expecting it to become as big as it has.
I remember with Series 1, there were some factory issues with bootlegging and whatnot. And Series 2, it seemed to have a lot more security, like foil stickers and stuff like that. Can you let our listeners know like how much of a factor like working with a good factory and dealing with bootlegs and stuff, like what did you deal with regarding that sort of like security issues and bootlegging?
Yeah, so Series 1 was, all the designs were relatively simple. The paint applications were pretty straightforward and nothing too complicated to copy. So that was copied pretty handily, pretty quickly when people saw that it was doing pretty well in the market. Series 2, the designs were a little more complicated, little less economical to bootleg, but it still got copied. I went to Hong Kong shortly after Series 2 came out and I saw a bunch of copies of Series 2 designs in phone stores and toy stores all around Hong Kong.
Really?
And they were, yeah. Even some of yours.
I want to see those.
There were some cupcakes.
Cool.
Yeah, they're pretty craptacular.
Were they scented?
No, those ones were not scented.
Okay.
And the eyes were all wrong. The paint apps were sloppy, and it was just a bit of a mess. And then there was a few others that, my original factory was outsourcing to another factory, a common practice in China. And once we moved away, a few of the samples and quality controlled items were slipping out of the old factory, made it onto the market. We added a security sticker to the bottom, little hologram sticker that got copied. Not completely correctly,
Oh,
but
man.
enough to where like the casual observer might be like, oh, this looks legit. So there's actually a great community of collectors, and they are really good at spotting the fakes and seeing which details set things apart from the real ones. I got pretty good at it myself. I could tell just from a fuzzy cell phone photo if it was a real one or not.
Yep.
But since Series 2, I think the designs have gotten so complicated that it's just not worth it to copy them. There's so many accessories and so many paint applications that are so precise and so detailed that there's no point. You just lose money on everyone you copied.
Now, is it the original factory that you're working with? Are they doing the bootlegs, or is it some other factory doing their rip of it?
It was a little bit of both. I think there were factories copying them straight up, and then the original factory was using some of the stuff that had been set aside as quality control, not passed.
Okay.
So messy sprays and stuff.
That's crazy. Sounds like a headache.
Yeah, luckily that was years ago, and it hasn't been as much of a problem recently. There's still a few sort of unauthorized Android editions that aren't official, that might just come from some other factory with some phone company logo or something crappy on them, but those are pretty easy to see that they're not official.
I will say that the Android collectible group, they are a passionate group, and they will
They are indeed.
They will catch all of that stuff, and they're tough on the flippers, I gotta say. They will.
They are,
They are.
They're self-policing. That's pretty great.
Yeah, they are.
And a lot of them have come from a tech background and have since gotten involved in the designer toy scene. So I'm happy that Android brought a lot of people over from a completely different world and introduced them to our little world. I know a lot of artists have gotten some commissions and support from those collectors.
Well, yeah, we can definitely say that Android has definitely introduced a lot of new collectors to designer toys. I remember when I was doing designs for you, they were initially just only buying the Androids, and then they would slowly start collecting my stuff, and then the other designers that you had in the series, and they just started collecting designers of Android stuff, and now a lot of them are very into the scene. Like, I think of Catherine Park being one person. She's very into designer toy scene. She buys a lot of different stuff, and you actually worked with her on producing an Android toy with her.
Yeah, we've done some special editions for different Google events and departments. We do them on a pretty regular basis. A lot of them don't make it out into the public, but usually a few of them sneak out here and there.
Do you ever go on eBay and check this stuff out, or do you just not want to know how much some of these things are going for?
I try not to make myself crazy with that.
Knowing that you can just hold one or two for you and pay for a couple of months' mortgage, is that frustrating?
And meanwhile, I've got boxes of them in my closet that I can't sell.
I don't know. It's just so weird. It's strange how all that works sometimes. So all the Android stuff is, actually your whole company is produced under Dead Zebra Inc. Aaron or George, either of you guys know the story behind how we named the company Dead Zebra Inc.?
I think we have the right person to ask here.
From the toy, no?
No, I don't think
Did you
so.
make the toy first, or no?
No, Dead Zebra has been around for 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
I was told there's a pretty funny story about how the name came about, and it came about from a university?
Well, yeah, I came up with it when I was in college. I went to the School of Visual Arts here in New York, and it was just part of an assignment to make a logo. Essentially, I was thinking very literally about what makes good logo design. Something that works well in silhouette usually has to be black and white. You can still read it. And then I started getting a little carried away with what would look good black, white, and red, and what would look good upside down and dead for some reason. My company was very nearly called Dead Beaver Inc.
Ooh, not nearly as good, no.
Well, I was in my early 20s. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, I went with Dead Zebra Inc. just a slap on the end of a student project. It was a bit of a joke. And then a few years after that, I was forced to actually incorporate as a company for tax purposes. When I was working at Nickelodeon, they didn't want to pay their freelancers. They wanted to pay outside vendors. So it became an official company name, but it was never intended to be public-facing. And then when I struck out on my own a few years after that, I just stuck with it. I already had the paperwork, and it's pretty memorable. I get a lot of questions about it.
It's a good name. It's made some great toys, some great T-shirts, probably some pins.
Some pins. I do get occasionally calls from people looking for me to pick up their roadkill.
That's awesome.
I have an 877 number. It's 877 It's Dead. I believe there's an 888 It's Dead or 1-800 It's Dead, which is a roadkill pickup service.
Nice. I like that.
That's amazing.
I usually just tell them I'll be right there.
On my way. Speaking of roadkill, I'm sure that one of our sponsors, Strange Cat Toys, maybe has passed up some in their designer toy bus. They actually have a bus they sell designer toys out of in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. So if you're in the area, be on the lookout for the Strange Cat bus. But also, Strange Cat Toys has a pretty awesome website you can head to fulfill all of your designer toy needs. StrangeCatToys.com. So you mentioned Nickelodeon. I think, did you just leave Nickelodeon on a whim to take a chance at designer toys? Like, can you tell us more about your beginnings and how scary it was to take that initial leap, going off on your own and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I'd love to say it was a spur of the moment on a whim, packed up my desk and left sort of thing, but it was actually pretty well thought out as far as my transition goes. When I was working there, I was working on my own stuff on the side, doing some illustration, putting up stuff on my website, building a little bit of a fan base, going to some small conventions like SPX.
Was that where the Creatures in My Head was started?
Yeah, it started there. I had I don't know if I should say that because they might claim they own it, but I think it's all right. I think the statute of limitations has run out on that. I had a really crappy Mac Tower, one of those clear ones. You remember they had like clear plastic and blue?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it was the worst. And it would crash constantly. So every time it crashed, I just started drawing a little creature off to the side on a Post-it and then started sticking them up in my cubicle. Then I started scanning them. Then I started putting them online. And eventually I was doing a creature a day. And a couple years later, I had built up a fan base and was doing some conventions and making some merchandise. And I had saved up my money for about a year with the intention of giving it a go for a year and seeing how it went. And that was 11 years ago. So it's going okay.
Sounds like it's going really good.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Are you doing designer toys full time, or do you take on the occasional odd job?
It's pretty much full time. Yeah,
Nice.
I don't know anything else that I've been doing other than gallery shows and working on my own product. I do. I have one main client is Google. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I have I've done a few different tech mascots, some basic stuff, and then I do my own toy production, my own design. I do my own gallery show work and whatnot. So yeah, it's keeping me busy.
Do you still do a creature a day?
I have not done a creature a day for a couple years. After I think 7 years straight, I got a little burnt out.
Did you ever put like a book out of any of that stuff, or was any of it ever released, or just online?
Yeah, I have 4 books, George.
Are there
Thanks
really?
for paying attention.
I had no idea. You know what? I think I have one of them. Because I used to go to your site all the time and look at those creatures a day. I love them. Those were some of my favorite things to do. And so yeah, I used to watch those online all the time. I guess I didn't pay enough attention to buy books.
Thanks for the support.
But I do have 3 of your paintings hanging up in my bathroom, so I guess that's
nice.
something, right?
Yeah, I'll send you a book. Yeah, I've collected them into books before. I had one come out I think about a year ago, and I'm working on another book which is more of my more recent illustration and sculptural work. Previously they've all been kind of just drawings.
Oh, that's really cool.
How do you feel when someone says that your artwork is hanging in their bathroom?
I take that as a compliment. Where do you spend more time looking at something on a wall?
Well, that's where the throne is. You would think the best stuff would be near the throne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have your undivided attention.
It was a triptych, a black, red, and gray triptych.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that was from 2005, I believe.
Wow. Look at that. See, I'm old school.
Now, what was your first self-production? Was that the Zlix?
No, it was Groob.
Groob, and that was like the TV-looking guy, right?
Yeah, that was one of the versions. The main one was nude, so it was kind of a fleshy pink color, and the other one was green goo, and those had the swappable face.
Okay, I remember. I think it was probably 2000. I don't think it was 2003, but maybe 2004 when I was at San Diego Comic-Con. You had a booth on the other side. It wasn't with Umbrella, though, but you had a booth on the other side of the convention hall, and I remember seeing the group with the interchangeable face, and that was one of the toys that I saw was like that made me realize that designer toys is a thing.
Sorry.
No, thank you for that. No regrets entering this toy scene at all. It's been awesome. Do you ever foresee yourself going to the other side of the convention? I know you've been with Umbrella and you've always been on the opposite side. Do you ever think about traveling to the other side?
I like it on the other side of the world. It's quieter. San Diego's a madhouse, especially over in the toy area. So it's we've just been over there so long. A lot of the guys I was sharing the booth with were webcomic artists, so we're in a kind of weird webcomic zone, not too far from giant robots. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But our aisles are wider. The traffic is still very steady, but not as cramped. I do wander over to the toy section, and I do some signings and stuff over there, but I actually prefer our island, away from the madness.
I hear you. Are you doing it again this year? I know a lot of people are jumping ship on the old San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, man, it's a tough decision every year, and I think I just got the email for reserving my housing, and I'm not ready to make that commitment yet. I have the booth. It's hard to give it up. We have a great spot and a full island. It's kind of a rarity.
Yeah, so it's the month of December, and this is usually the month where they actually cash your checks. So you ready for, what is it? I think it's $20,000 this year to come out of your bank account for an island?
$30,000.
Hey, Gary, they cashed the checks already. That was a while ago.
Oh, ouch.
I paid them in cash at the end of last year, so that money's been gone. They're earning interest on it.
No Christmas gift for the cat this year. Sorry.
Yeah, San Diego I struggle with it every year. It takes a lot out of me. It is a lot of work, a lot of prep, especially coming from the East Coast, getting in the entire booth build together and sending out pallets of merchandise and planning for it. It's fun. It's exhausting. We're pretty good at it after 12 years straight, something like that.
I was going to say, you guys are just old veterans at this point. You guys can set up and break down and no problem. In and out.
Yeah, we got it down to a science.
Can I go back to Groob for a second?
Sure.
Did you do that all on your own? Like, was that something you did? Because wasn't the next one, the Zlicks that Gary brought up a minute ago, that was through Weedy Wheat, right?
Yeah.
Or did
the Groob, I found someone who was basically a liaison for a factory, so a middleman on the States, and did that with him, but paying for it myself and art directing it myself. The Zlicks was my design, and yeah, I worked with Weedy Wheat on the production. They did the prototyping and cleanup and final models and some of the production work on it.
What was the reason for going with like a company instead of doing it on your own, since you had already done one on your own?
That's a good question. I can't remember exactly why I think I was just looking for someone to help cover the expense and someone who was a better sculptor than me at the time.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
He had a little more experience as far as production goes and putting a few things together.
Right.
And it was a large production. It was expensive. It was it was a lot of money and a lot of time to invest in a product, and I don't think I was quite there yet.
Right.
So
it was a big piece. Yeah, those were big pieces.
Yeah, and there was multiple pieces, and there were eyeballs you could pop out and swap around, and heads you can swap around, and injection molded bases. It was actually a little beyond what I was familiar with at the time. I knew my limitations, so I went looking for a partner to work with.
That's cool. So did you sculpt Groob?
No, I had someone else sculpt it. That was
okay.
I hadn't really started sculpting until shortly thereafter. I think all the ones after that, I'd done a lot of the work on myself.
I think that's a pretty normal thing for like early on, like 2002 to like maybe like 2007 or 2008, where a lot of the designers had other sculptors designing their stuff, and then it seems like today it's become a lot more independent, where people are doing a lot more themselves.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be able to go from concept to completion yourself, but at the same time, you got to know that people out there are better than you at bringing your own vision to life. So
for sure,
know when to stop yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be limited if you're not a sculptor that said you can't make a toy. Like, you should definitely, you shouldn't have to sculpt it yourself.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that part yet.
So did you do the newest stuff? Like, did you do like the I don't know what the name of the horse head chest piece thing? What's that thing called?
The Last Night. That was done by Scott over at Shinbone.
Oh, okay.
But I did the Kuroshi. I did that entirely myself. I've been learning ZBrush the last couple of years. Like I was all digital.
Cool.
Yeah, you're starting to 3D print stuff yourself and casting, right? You're doing all that yourself now.
Yeah. I've been casting for a couple of years, sculpting and casting, and then I've been doing some 3D printing this year.
Nice. Speaking of printing, one of our sponsors, Prints on Wood, can print any of your artwork or photos on beautiful, sustainable wood. Head on over to printsonwood.com to have that service done for you, or to purchase many of their limited edition fine art prints from a great list of artists. Your Ono Sushi and Ono Sashimi, you design and self-produce those yourself too, correct?
Yeah, those were fun. Those were a bit of a pain in the butt, but they were good in the end. It was
I'm going to give you a Marsham Toy Award for packaging design because I think that Ono's Sushi is one of the most brilliant packaging designs. I would usually tell a lot of people, take your toys out of the packaging and enjoy it. But Ono's Sushi, it looks great in that packaging. It
really does, yeah.
It should stay in there.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the hardest parts of the whole process, is getting the factory to source something like that and custom make something like that. And we ended up with a couple hundred editions with eyes rubbed off onto the plastic because they hadn't built the vacuum tray perfectly to prevent that. So yeah, if there's a problem in production, I have done it.
That's something our listeners probably don't know, is how big of a learning curve production is. Like you just mentioned the eyes sticking to that. I think we ran some stuff with some of the Toy Titans where it almost seems like they packaged it before they let the paint breathe a little. It just almost seems it was too fast in production. So there was on some of mine, I almost had, it's like a white residue that I can take off myself with like some rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
But it's not a step that I should have to take. It's almost sometimes factories move too fast on things and don't do QC on a lot of things. And what you also said, like a lot of companies like, Funko and yourself, do you ever order like a bunch of extra boxes for stuff like this if that happens, or extra eyes or androids? How much thought do you put into ordering extra accessories or extra antennas that are breakable for the collectors in case one of the items breaks or something gets lost?
That took me a couple of years to really take to heart. Now every time we do an Android production, I'll make sure I get a few boxes of extra copies of accessories and figures. But for a while, I was just paying for what I made, and that was it. So if they sold out, I'm sorry, I'll give you a refund.
Right.
But yeah, so I've had problems on pretty much almost every production edition. It's just part of the process. And I think for the Groobs, some of their faces fell out. The Zlicks, it took almost, 2 years start to finish. I wanted the eyes to be a certain durometer and a certain exact size, which is not easy in vinyl and soft vinyl. It's just that precision isn't there. The sushi eyes rubbed off. So yeah, I've made plenty of mistakes. It is important to have backups. If anyone's working on a production right now, have a few extra, get some extra accessories. Any little parts you can lose or break. People will lose them. The factory will forget to include them. Something's going to happen. So it's always good to have a few around.
I know with my skate cop, you actually emailed me when I received mine. You're like, just a heads up, I'm starting to hear from some collectors that, was it the hat that wasn't included in some of their boxes? And you're like, let me know if you're missing any hats.
Yeah, it happens. If you're packing thousands of Androids a day, you're gonna miss a few.
And these are all reasons to, if you're thinking of going into production, to go with someone who may have done it before, because they've hit these hurdles themselves. So it always is better to have someone else who knows what they're doing and knows what to look for help you out on a project for the first time.
Yeah, if I could start all over, I'd probably outsource a lot more. But now I have the experience, so I can do it myself.
Now you're the guy people will turn to.
Exactly.
So Andrew, because you worked with Google, have you been approached by other companies to do like their mascot or do something for them?
Yeah, we did a few different ones. I did one for GitHub based off of their existing character Octocat to bring that into toy form. We did it 2 different sizes, and then another one recently for a place called Digital Ocean where they have a shark mascot. So they're usually side projects. They'll come to me if I think they're interesting or fun. I'll take them on. Or if they're easy. I try not to take on too much other stuff to distract me from my own work. But
So you still prefer making your own stuff versus like being a producer and a turnkey specialist.
Yeah, that's not how I position myself currently. Maybe I'll have to someday, but I prefer to work on my own stuff or work with friends or work on series with other artists.
Now, Andrew, you mentioned we were talking about what actually George mentioned the last night, and I gotta say on my Christmas list for the last 5 years, I've been asking Santa for a pair of Andrew Bell sneakers. What did ever happen to that sneaker that you designed for Bait?
That was just a matter of timing. You know, the sneaker production takes a while, toy production takes a while. They both hit snags, and it just didn't line up in the end. I think the toy ended up coming out maybe 6 months too late, and just missed the opportunity there. I do have one pair of Dead Zebra Last Night matching sneakers in my studio, which I will never wear.
Santa, if you're listening, you know where Andrew lives. He's a good boy. You visit him every year. Break into his place. Because Santa's a naughty man. Break into his place and give me the gift that I've been waiting for years for.
They are pretty cool.
That's got to be pretty awesome to have a pair I'm not a sneakerhead, but to own a pair of sneakers that really pretty much no one else owns. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there might be one other sample somewhere in California that Eric at Bait might have, but as far as I know, I have the only other pair.
That's pretty cool.
I've been a pretty good little worker bee for you. If you ever want to send me a gift, I don't care what the size they are, send them my way.
I didn't know you were a sneakerhead.
I'm not, but I'm an Andrew Bell head.
Gary, you're not getting this. I can guarantee you're not getting this.
What makes you say that? It's a very limited a special one-off item. I think I stand a pretty good chance.
Nice. So Andrew, you've done one of the only pieces I've ever seen come out of the U.S. out of U.S. vinyl.
Yeah.
There's only been a couple actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think Luke Chu had one recently. But how did you like that? How was that for you? How was the whole process of doing made in the USA vinyl?
I mean, it's cool to be able to say that. It's not necessarily any more practical or affordable or easier than doing it overseas. Everyone speaks English. That's a plus. You know, there's nothing lost in communication there. But it's not quite as high-end as you would get coming out of a Japanese factory or a Chinese factory. But it's cool to be able to say that this went from idea to finished product all in the U.S.
Yeah, I think I think it's pretty neat to be able to have that.
Yeah, that was the deal maker for anyone looking it up. Did it along with my plastic heart.
Now, so there's no confusion. The deal maker was not the reason, like it being solely done in the U.S. was not the deal maker for the reason for the toy. Deal maker is the name of the toy he had made in the States. So just search deal maker.
Are there any more of that coming, or is that done? Is that guy finished?
We still got the molds, but I think I might put a cap on it for now.
Okay.
And maybe work on something else.
Nice.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do some more domestic production.
Well, let's talk about some more domestic production. At the beginning of the show, we were talking about how you've been hard at work creating new monsters and such for a show you have this Friday at the Rotofugi Gallery. Why don't you take a moment to tell us more about that and all the stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, well, I got a show. I'm working with my friend Lana Crooks, who you've had on previously, and it's called Nightfall, and it features all things creatures of the night, creatures of flight. So there's birds and bats and bugs and skulls, of course. A little bit of everything, some additioned pieces, some original artwork, some drawings, and some pins to go along with everything.
Woohoo!
What gallery show would not be complete without pins?
Did you and Lana each do your own thing, or did you guys collaborate on a couple of things?
Yeah, we were each doing our own thing, and then we were collaborating on 4 pieces if we actually managed to finish everything. I sent them off yesterday.
Oh, man.
It's back to her, so she's got to add some moths to my skulls.
Now, can I ask you, when you heard Rotofugi announce several months ago that they were having some dire times, did this show of yours with Lana ever peek into your mind a little bit? Is this show going to happen or anything like that? Were you concerned at all?
Well, I had so much to do towards the end of the year that I think I was secretly thinking, oh, sweet, maybe I don't have to do the show. No, I didn't want them to go away. I've been working with those guys for many years now. One of my first shows was at their old space many years ago. They're great. I love the Curs. I love the shop. I love the space they're in now. I'm glad they're sticking around. But yeah, I was a little worried about it. It seems like they're doing okay right now, and hopefully it'll keep up.
Yeah, no one wants Rotofugi to go away. They are one of the staples of the designer toy scene. So definitely don't go anywhere, Kirby, Whitney, whatever you gotta do. Just let us know.
They're so nice. Kirby's such a nice guy.
Yeah. Tell us, when you're working on a show like that and you're doing a lot of intricate self-sculpted, a lot of resin work, how do you ship it out of state? Surely you're not using this UPS shipping one item at a time. Are you crating your stuff and freight shipping it? What is it you do to ship stuff to a gallery like Rotofugi? Or I know you work with Stranger Factory a lot, and you've even done ship some stuff over to Japan because you do like a yearly show out there. Like, how do you prepare your stuff for shipping?
It depends on the size and the materials, but it basically comes down to a shitload of bubble wrap and packing peanuts. I've done some crates before. Those are always the best, solid wood if you're shipping that much stuff. But if you're sending a few little boxes, I usually double box stuff. I'll have things wrapped in small bubble wrapped, which is then wrapped in large bubble wrap, which is then in a box, which is inside another box surrounded by packing peanuts. So you can never have too much padding for original pieces because they get kicked and dropped and thrown. Mm-hmm. By the time you're done packing it, you should be able to throw it across the room and it should be fine. That's a good
what you should do? First off, I like the way you say bubble wrap. I think we're going to title this show Bubble Wrap.
Bubble wrap.
But if you can, I think what would be great packaging protection, the mini Wordbles that you did with Squishables. Those would be an amazing packaging, don't you think?
Yeah, you just get a box filled with tiny Wordbles.
What's wrong with that? You order something from deadzebra.com and you receive 20 Wordbles and a nice little one-off resin from Andrew Bell.
It's better than packing peanuts all over the floor, I suppose.
You know what? My kids would beg to differ. Well, you know what? Packing peanuts, hell no. I hate how it's just the static. They stick to your hands and you can't get rid of them. But the bubble wrap, that is the best gift for kids. Anytime I order something and those come in, my kids, they're 2 and 4, they have a dancing party on that stuff, and it's awesome.
Yeah, don't buy your kids toys. Just buy them sheets of bubble wrap.
I got to go off topic for a second. Speaking of packaging, if anyone is thinking about buying the 24-inch high-def piece by Kano, the packaging is insane. Like, it comes in a box, and then there's styrofoam inside. And then when you open the styrofoam, there's probably like 30 million little tiny infinitesimal sizes of bubble, like little pieces of styrofoam. And they will clog up the filter on your vacuum cleaner. And literally, when I got the high def piece, I literally had to take my vacuum cleaner apart and pick the little pieces out of the filters because they'd completely clogged the filters. I mean, that was like some really OCD, over the top packaging on that one.
Did it survive?
Oh yeah, I mean, I got mine safe. I can't guarantee all of them arrive safe, but man, I mean, that stuff, like when I told Kano about it, he just laughed. He's like, oh, I said, oh, I got his piece. He's like, oh, do you have fun cleaning up the, like, obviously everyone knows about it. Like, you open it up and it just implodes, like, just tiny little pieces of.
That's a nightmare. You know what that reminds me of? You know when a lot of sculptors will go large size, they'll have to glue a bunch of pieces of styrofoam together and then just literally have to shave away little pieces, and you get just literally just tons of shavings all over the floor that are sticking to you. Actually, that'd be a good little side business for one of those sculptors. Just save all the shavings, put them in a bag, and mail them to some other company for packaging supply.
So if you're a sculptor out there with bags full of loose styrofoam, send it to Aaron, care of Martian Toys.
Yep.
Thank you.
But don't put it in a bag. Just put it in an empty box, so when he opens it, it just goes everywhere.
You just send me small envelopes of it, open it up.
Like a glitter bomb.
Yeah, a glitter bomb, yeah.
Speaking of the mini Wordble plushes I was joking about using as packaging supply, that triggered a memory of you having a giant plush Wordble pit built for a show you did over at Rotofugi several years ago. That looked incredible. I just picture, families and kids walking and jumping into this pit, and I wanted to jump into it and just have all my worries just taken away. That was so cool.
It was amazing. And props to Kirby and the Roto crew for actually building that out for me, my crazy idea. And Squishables for supplying all these Squishables. Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah, it was I think it'd be like a 8x8 or 6x6, something like that, about 4 feet deep, just filled with giant, soft, squishy, plush Wordbles. And the only rule was that you had to take off your shoes, then you could just jump in and go nuts.
Oh man, that's so cool. Do you have anything interactive like that with this latest show?
Nothing on that scale. No, this is a bit of a smaller show.
I'm disappointed.
Well, I could fill a pit with cast resin pieces, but I don't think jumping into it will be quite as
There
satisfying.
you go.
You might want to leave your shoes on for that one.
Yeah.
So you plan on doing another Andrew series like once a year? Is there an end in sight?
Another Andrew series?
Yeah. Android.
No,
series.
but I'll probably make some androids. Yeah, I mean, trying to stay on track for one every year. So get an artist series, maybe do a few special edition series. I've had some ideas. It's just a matter of time. I do so much of the work myself that it's hard to get it all done.
Now, what's going on with the jumbo androids? Those are primarily done in DIY. Do you foresee any artist series of the jumbos coming out?
Yeah, we have them in DIY and green, and I don't have any plans for an artist series or special editions.
Okay.
They're kind of big and expensive, so it's I think we're a lot at the point where people don't have a lot of room for something like that.
Right. Now, those acted as almost like a refrigerator koozie type thing.
Yeah, that's something I like to do with all my productions is give them a function or have them be something you can play with or use otherwise. Like the Groob's heads you could take out, the slicks you could swap out parts, and the eyes on the sushi, and Kuroshi has a little briefcase you can open.
Mm-hmm.
And the giant androids were double wall ABS thermal plastic, essentially, so you could keep a can in there and keep it warm or cold.
It sounds like something I would see in the Sky Mall magazine when I fly in a plane. Something that serves a double purpose.
I'm not sure if that's an insult or not.
No, it's not. Dude, there's a lot of great items in that magazine, so that is not a diss by any means. I could keep my strawberryta in there. Man. You're a Scotch connoisseur, though.
I am.
You're a little on the fancy schmancy snooty tooty side of the alcohol.
I'm gonna pour myself some right now. Join you. Just another thing to collect, except this one you can piss out instead of taking up room in your house.
Speaking of taking a broom, do you have a half pipe in your studio?
I used to. That was my old studio. I had, it was 1,200 square feet and more than I needed. It was just me and my assistant at the time, and a half pipe. And
Yeah, I remember seeing an article somewhere about that, and I was like, "Is that real? Like, that's amazing."
Yeah, it was a bit of a dream studio. Unfortunately, the rents here in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, have increased significantly in the last few years, so that is no longer in existence. It now lives on in a skate park in Staten Island, so it is not dead. It has just been relocated.
Oh, you actually moved the half pipe?
Yeah, the guy from Staten Island actually came out and built it for me, so he just took it back. He has his own skate park out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did not go wasted. So yeah,
I have a question for Andrew. Andrew, do you think what do you think the future of vinyl is? Do you think there is a future for vinyl production on a small scale for designer toys, or?
Yeah, I think the scene has kind of come full circle recently, where it started off as a small niche thing with a lot of artists and designers, and then it got bigger and popular, and then bigger companies started copying the styles. And that sort of split off into its own thing with Funko and all the licensed stuff, taking that original style that had been developed in our little scene and making it mass market. And now it's kind of contracting back in on itself, where the artist stuff is once again smaller runs, self-produced stuff, a lot of great stuff coming out of Asia like it was originally. And I don't know, it's changed. I don't think it's for the better or for worse. Certainly not selling as many units as we were in the heyday, but I've been seeing a lot more creative and interesting projects coming out of people. So I'm hopeful and excited to see it keep developing.
I mean, it seems to me like there's more resin and less vinyl, though. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, there's definitely more resin. We got over the hump where people were thinking that resin was somehow less than, when there was sort of a resin versus vinyl. And it was, having a vinyl toy was the ultimate goal. Now that's sort of a side. It's resin, vinyl. It doesn't matter. It's about the cool sculpts and the artwork.
Yeah, for most people, it just sits on the shelf anyway, so you're not ever going to pick it up and I've kind of had to rethink some of the statements I've made on the show over the time. I've gone back and picked up some of the older toys. I mean, once they sit on the shelf, you forget whether they're, what they're made out of, whether it's ABS or PVC or polystone or resin. It's just, like you said, if it's a cool sculpt, it seems to be that seems to be more important than whether, what it's made out of.
Yeah, and if anything, your resin pieces might actually last a little longer than the vinyl pieces. A lot of the early vinyl pieces were not made that great. Leaking out plasticizer, slowly melting or getting hard and brittle. Sure, resin can have similar problems, but it doesn't seem to be on the same scale as the old vinyl stuff.
And what do you think of like 3D printing and 3D printers? Are you a fan, or are you kind of like on the sidelines still with that stuff?
I am a fan. I've been a fan for many years, but I only recently got my own a few months ago, so I have a Form 2 that I've been using. I've done some stuff previously, outsourced to some of the bigger, more expensive machines that some of the printing facility companies have. I think it's just another tool. There's clay, there's 3D printing, and everything in between, and it's just great to have another option. It's nice to be able to sculpt on my laptop when I'm on an airplane, like I was doing recently. It's hard to bring a bag of clay and all my tools and an alcohol torch and very sharp, pointy metal things on an airplane. So I think 3D printing won't replace traditional sculpting, and it's still just a sort of a side for now, but it's going to get to the point where you can print your production pieces. There's a few patented machines that are very expensive that can print at such a rapid clip that they're approaching the ability to have production parts come right off the machine. So I don't know.
Stuff that comes off Formlabs right now, currently, I mean, that stuff isn't, like, what's the shelf life of that? Like, won't it kind of dry out and get brittle after 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, the stuff that comes out of the Formlabs machines, it's good. It's good to finish and seal and make copies of, but as a piece itself, it's brittle, prone to cracking, and I don't think it's going to last very long. But at the same time, it's it's much better than the stuff we had years ago, and it's light years beyond the melted filament machines.
I would say most people use 3D printing just to create their prototype and then they just cast from that. Isn't that pretty much the case?
Yeah, I mean, some people sculpt it, some people print it, some people use it for parts to add to a traditional sculpt. I don't think they have a few printers that can do full color printing, but they're kind of sandy, rough finishes. Have you ever seen those things?
Yes, I've seen those. I've seen a lot of people selling those. You're like, no, you should really sand that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just how it comes out. And like I said, they're not there yet. But another 10, 15 years, we might not be talking about vinyl toys anymore or resin. We might just be talking about all the cool printed stuff that we have or the stuff we printed at home.
You never know. I know a lot of people in their teenage years right now, they are very into 3D printing. They have their own 3D printers, so they're kind of already into the technology of all this stuff. So yeah, I look forward to what maybe the next decade it has to offer to us. It's going to be cool to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anyone out there is getting started in sculpting, do yourself a favor and learn some 3D on the side.
Oh, I hear that's super frustrating. Has that been tough for you? I know George has been doing it.
Yeah, well, I went to SVA for computer art. That was my major. It's not the same as it was back then, but it familiarized me with the terminology and a lot of the interfaces and the more complex aspects of 3D modeling. So jumping back into it, learning ZBrush was not as crazy as it would be for someone who's coming at it from zero experience. But it is frustrating. The interface is insane. It took me about a year of falling asleep to online tutorials to finally get my head around it.
Now you're a very mild-mannered gentleman.
How dare you, sir?
I don't know you to ever lose your cool. Surely has there ever been an instance where you've lost your cool? There has to be an instance.
I think I got into a fight when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. Yeah.
I'm pretty laid back. You know, it takes a lot to get me riled up. I did lose my shit once in college due to a housing situation where I was placed in exactly the one room I did not want to be in, which was next to a crazy person.
Okay. But nothing ever in the designer toy world where you had a bad factory or anything like that you can think of where you kind of like something really grated on you, or you just kind of let everything roll off you?
Oh, I've wanted to punch plenty of people, but they're really far away.
There was that time like 40 minutes ago where I was like, "Do you have any books on your art?" And he's
Yeah,
like, I made
exactly.
4 of them.
I remember like 2 years ago, Decon. Like I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the other artists, but someone said oh, does anyone know where Andrew Bell is? And they pointed out, and I was like, it was someone else who's very quiet, and I turned to the person who was with me. I said, I wonder how that conversation's gonna go. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, Andrew's not that outgoing. He's not really that talkative, and neither is this guy. I don't know if it was. I can't remember who the other person was, but I just was trying to imagine what you guys were going to talk about. I had trouble imagining that because you're pretty quiet a lot of times. You just kind of
we would just stand around and look at each other's shoes for the most part.
Well, I don't know if this will make the recording or not, but I remember several years ago, back when Kid Robot was doing the fire sales, like 1 month your 20-inch.
The orange drop.
Yeah, the orange drop that was going for $400. The next month it's 60% off, and a lot of people are getting it for only $160. Like, did that irk you? That because that's your fan base that's kind of getting treated like shit a little bit. Did that irk you or no?
Yeah, the Kid Robot dumping of their stock kind of pissed me off. It wasn't just me, actually. That was like the least of it. I know they didn't have a ton of those, but other artists, they were selling it at below wholesale. They were selling they liquidated it. They could have offered it to the artist. They did not offer it to the artist.
Right.
I know lots of artists would have happily taken that stock at pennies on the dollar and sold it themselves. It's made a profit off of it, but they dumped it on the market. They tanked the value of the product. They screwed over other retailers who had paid full wholesale value for it.
Sure.
So yeah, that irked me a bit.
Yeah. No, it happened to me too. With they had an exclusive of the Totem, and the next month it was 50% off too. Pretty much at wholesale what they paid, they were getting rid of it. And I don't understand that was tough times for Kid Robot, but at the same time, like, that sucks to be on the other end of that too, and your fan base is kind of getting hit at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they need to do what they need to do to stay in business, but it bothered me to the point where I didn't want to work with them for a little while. I think they're a different company now.
Very much so. Yeah.
So it's okay, but yeah, it put me off for a little while.
Yeah, I think at the time that all that happened, we didn't understand truly what was going on. It wasn't until several years later that we learned that was a very dire situation for them. Like, it almost sounded like maybe they had to do this to survive. And so understanding the business decisions behind it, it makes more sense now. But the time that it was happening, I definitely was not happy with what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, they got payroll to make. They got stores to keep open, or they had.
Tons of employees, stores, and yeah, it all makes sense for sure.
Yeah, it just could have been handled better.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. It would have been nice to maybe offer it up to wholesale to the artist first before you let that product line really take a hit in value, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with anyone that needs to liquidate just to get some cash. Your stuff is with a distributor or with Kid Robot. It's always going to suck.
True. All right, guys, we're pushing an hour 10 or so. So, George, Aaron, any last questions?
No, I'm good. I think we could go into the lightning round.
They're just snoozing in the background over there.
Are you ready for lightning round, Andrew?
No.
Okay, this is a quick little segment. We're going to hit you with a burst of questions, and you try to answer them as quickly as possible. We're not going to follow up too much with the discussion. Are you?
I'm going to push you into 2 hours. I got some answers.
I can't go in over an hour 36.
All right, let's go.
Okay, what was your favorite toy as a child?
This is where we get into 2 hours. All right. When I was younger, Lego. A little older, Mask, Starcom, Sky Commanders, and even Captain Power.
Ooh. Okay. I know what Mask is. I have no idea what the other ones are.
Starcom was great. You should look it up. They had moving parts and magnets and every little figure had magnets in its feet, and they would activate doors and stuff. It was way ahead of its time, really interactive, really cool details. Not super popular, in the States at least.
I will definitely check it out after the recording. What was your first designer toy purchased?
It was something called Chainsaw Hunter. I got it from Toy Tokyo here in the city. And it was 3 characters. They had spikes on their heads. They're each holding chainsaws, and they came in plastic tubes.
Sounds crazy.
I think it was designed by Eric Lamb, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. But they were my first purchase over sort of $50 on a toy. I'd bought a few, I think, Monsterisms before that, but that was the first time I bought an actual artist-designed large vinyl piece.
Okay. What toy would you say holds the most prominent display in your collection?
Oh man, I'm gonna look around the room right now. Probably the wooden Cause bear bricks. Those are always out.
Oh, nice. I didn't know you had those. That's cool.
Yeah, those are beautiful art pieces, and they sort of tie together fine art and natural materials and bear bricks and Cause, some of my favorite things.
Definitely. I love anytime someone does just a short. Usually, the wood stuff is usually a run of less than 5 pieces because it's so hard to sculpt in wood. So that's awesome that you have those. Is there a designer toy that you wish you had made that you're a little jealous of, maybe?
Besides these totems that I have here?
Yep.
Maybe the. Sorry, I need to think about that one for a second. I'm going to say the Dave Kinsey busts. You remember those from years ago?
I do not.
Put out by Adfunture. They were just these 3 little busts, maybe 2.5, 3 inches tall. One of them had glasses. They're really basic. They mostly got overlooked when they came out, but they're beautiful and they're a cool translation of his work.
Okay. Sounds cool. Do you have a current favorite toy?
I have a bunch of soft vinyl stuff from the manga and cartoon Gigigi no Kitaro. And there's some beautiful things. They've got a few different characters out. If you look them up, a lot of them came out for Wonderfest, and they're specialty items in Japan, but they're some of my favorite pieces.
You know what? I should have talked to you a little bit more about you've done travels to Japan a couple times. We probably should have touched on that.
I can come back.
Okay. We'll have you back. Okay, this question was sent in from a listener. Are you ready for it?
Oh, man. Let's go for it.
Let's see if you can guess the listener. What is your favorite Patrick Swayze film?
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. No, that's a terrible movie.
No way. That movie's great.
Is it? Is it great? Really?
Yes, I'm saying yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with George on that one. We'll get together and watch Roadhouse.
Okay. I will say The Outsiders. How about you, Aaron?
Patrick Swayze, I would say Donnie Darko.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing that.
Ah.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
I've ever seen that, actually.
Like a Christian youth minister / pedophile.
Okay.
It was a perfect role for him. No, that's not nice. He's not alive, so he was a nice guy. But it was great seeing him in that role. It was kind of cool.
Nobody said Dirty Dancing. I'm shocked.
No, isn't he? He's in Point Break, right?
He's in Point Break too. Another great.
Come on,
film.
it's got to be Point Break.
Point Break is very good. I can watch that movie pretty much any time it comes on. All right.
I'm surprised you didn't say Ghost.
Demi Moore, Patrick, in that steamy clay spinning scene. It's up there. All right. What's on your big Christmas list for this year from Santa?
I got to start working on that. I got nothing.
Dude, you haven't sat on Santa's lap and told him what you want. You're kind of pushing the limit. The guy needs a little more time.
I have been busy trying to wrap up stuff for the Roto show, so haven't had a chance to think about Christmas yet.
All right. Well, start thinking about yourself in a little bit, and then go tell Santa what you want. Oh, okay. And what we're going to start doing is we're going to end the episode with a little question for the listeners to participate in at the end of every episode. So we're going to ask you a question, and what we'd like you to do, probably in our Instagram feed, is answer this question for us. So this week's question is, let's say your Christmas tree or your menorah catch the house on fire. Let's assume your family members, your pets, everyone's safe. You only have enough time to save 3 toys. Let us know in the comment section what those 3 toys are.
Are you going to ask the guest that question?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Andrew, what would it be?
Oh, you care? I would grab my aforementioned Cosbear bricks, and I would grab my... I have a 3D printed skull, which is kind of all filigree. It's really a beautiful little object, not so much a toy. And what else would I grab? I don't know if I can carry it. It's definitely not a toy, but I have an AJ Fossick sculpture hanging on the wall that weighs about 300 pounds, which I would not want to see destroyed.
Good luck lugging that out of the house. But the 3D printed thing, surely you can have that reprinted correctly, or no?
I suppose I could. That might be a daft thing to take with me.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's a bad call on your part, but, you know.
If I'm on fire, I'm not going to be thinking straight, so
True.
you can't blame me for that.
All right, Andrew. It's been a lot of fun. We'll definitely have you back on to talk more about your travels and whatnot. So
All right,
why don't you take a brief moment and let everyone know where they can find you?
You can find me at deadzebra.com or creaturesinmyhead.com. On Instagram, I'm deadzebra Inc. That's INC. And on Twitter, I'm deadzebra.
Okay. George?
At George Gaspar, someplace, Twitter, and maybe Facebook. I don't know.
Aaron?
You can go to Instagram, Martian Toys, MartianToys.com, info at Martian Toys, Aaron at Martian Toys. You can, if you're in the Philadelphia area or you're within 500 miles, why don't you drive down to Mothership? It's at 223 West Gerard Avenue.
Okay.
Check out the gallery store.
All right.
Bring styrofoam.
I'm Gary Ham. You can find me at Gary Ham on Instagram or superham.com. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. Until our next transmission, we're signing off. All right, guys, I have to go pee so bad. Give me 1 second. So, hey, guys, who's still there? I know we just ended the recording, but I just checked my phone real quick and I saw something from Mighty Jax, and Aaron, George.
I'm still here, Gary. It's Aaron.
Oh, Aaron. I think we lost George and Andrew. Well, anyways, have you checked out Instagram?
Yeah, I saw the preview yesterday for the Tweety Bird and Bugs Bunny XX Ray. By Mighty Jax, which was obviously strikingly similar to the one that Kid Robot released last year.
Okay, I didn't see the Tweety Bird. I just saw the Bugs Bunny. It totally reminded me of what Kid Robot released earlier this year. I'm gonna let me go on the web and see what Kid Robot looks like. But initially, just looking at Mighty Jax, it seems pretty similar.
Yeah, it appears to be slightly different.
Yeah, so there's some slight differences. You know, Kid Robot's kind of looks a little more asymmetrical, an exact flip of each other, and Mighty Jax, you know, the arms are up, one ear's maybe a little slanted, so it's a little more not asymmetrical. But it still seems a little weird to me that 2 dissected Bugs Bunnies within the same year by 2 different companies. Like, is that strange to you at all?
Yeah, it seems overkill from a collector standpoint or from a retailer standpoint. I would venture to guess that probably the licensing for Asia and licensing for North America are separate, and it's possible that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder...
That's my guess.
No,
Pure speculation.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I know a lot of times with these licensed projects you have to submit to the licensee to approve it, and I'm thinking, why would Warner Brothers approve 2 very, very similar identical dissecteds? But if there's different licenses for the US and Asia and whatnot, you know, maybe they don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, and both deals may be so small that they just don't even register on Warner Brothers' radar too.
But what about Freeney? Like, surely he was contacted to design 2 of these. Like, wasn't he? Surely he was aware that he had just done a Kid Robot one. Why now do another one with with Mighty Jaxx? Is that I don't know.
It's kind of strange. Maybe he kind of was. Maybe they were kind of in talks with both companies, and he kind of, I don't know. Maybe he was kind of like speculating one was gonna not happen. So he thought, well, I'll move ahead with both, and then both of them got greenlighted. I don't know. Or maybe he felt unsatisfied with the Kid Robot version. He wanted, he wanted to see what Mighty Jaxx would come up with.
Yeah, you know what? They came out pretty close, so I can see to where he probably had two productions going around the same time, and he didn't know which one was going to take. And yeah, I don't know. It seemed weird to me. I saw this on Instagram. I just wanted to talk to you about real quick to see if it seemed strange. To me, it's super weird. I can understand if it was maybe, a company outside of the designer toy world, but Kid Robot and Mighty Jaxx are two companies just in this very tiny niche. So to be doing something so similar, just kind of weird.
It's a little incestuous, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, a lot of people like Bugs Bunny. A lot of people like Jason Freeney XX Ray. So maybe there was still people chomping at the bit for the first one, and Mighty Jaxx saw an opportunity. But I feel like there's so many other great characters they could do XX Ray with if they still feel like that's the thing to do.
Yeah, they could. It could just be one of those cases where they had the Looney Tunes license and they had to run with. But I don't know. I personally would have rather waited or sat on the Bugs Bunny for a little bit and done Daffy Duck or Tasmanian Devil, because I see that Kid Robot still has this available on their website, so it's not exactly sold out. So why potentially take away from anyone who might? I don't know. It's just strange. Like you said, incestuous. It's very weird. But again, I can't speculate as to what came first, the chicken or the egg. I don't know, but definitely strange.
Yeah. Well, maybe some people want to comment on it and let us know so we can talk about it some more next week.
Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday night. The type, you said you saw it on Tuesday, so by the time it releases, a full week will pass. We'll see if anyone noticed it as well. I'm going to assume Mighty Jaxx is probably resin, while Kid Robot's is vinyl, but that's not proven yet. Most Mighty Jaxx stuff is resin, but there's a chance it could be vinyl. Well, I guess stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
All right, Gary.
All right. All right, Aaron. All right. Have a good night. All right. Bye.